Hello, welcome to another episode of EPMS Tech Talk. I'm Chris Costa.
And I'm Joanne LaFlamme.
So Joanne, what should we cover tonight?
Well, I heard we had a new way of handling postage and postage deposits from customers. Let's take a look at that.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions over the last couple of years about how to handle postage a little bit better, how maybe we can do it a little better. So we tried to centralize the processing. We added a postage button in AR. We changed the thought process where in purchasing, if you mark the PO as a postage deposit request and you print a report, it'll actually print a report to your customer as opposed to a supplier as a request. So we can kind of walk through that workflow a little bit.
Great.
Okay? Okay. So as I said, the first step would be in purchasing. So with a new PO, what you typically do is add a house account as a supplier and select that as your supplier ID. Mark it off as a postage deposit request, and then you can select your customer account. I'll just select this account here. And what you would do is when you add a line item, the system's automatically going to create the line item as an outside service line. Okay, it won't give you the option for sheet stock or ink or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay, the idea being that you can select a job number. Okay, I'm going to select one for that customer, and let's say I need 500 pieces, 42 cents each. Okay, so I make my line item just like that. And then, like I said, when you want to print this, because you've got it marked off as a postage deposit, it's going to print as if you're sending it to the customer, which you are.
Okay.
Okay, and we can take a look at that report. Okay. Okay, so it'll, the remit to is going to be your address as the company, and then it'll have your customer information on there instead of the supplier.
Okay. Now, could I have multiple line items if I had X amount at 42 cents and another amount at a higher or lower rate?
Exactly. Yes,
Okay.
you could, and each of those line items might be for different jobs.
Okay.
So there could be a couple of variables here. It could be the same customer, which it would be, obviously, because you're
Yep.
sending this to the same customer. But they may have multiple jobs, and like you said, maybe multiple rates of postage. So there could be a few different variables there, yeah.
Okay. So now what's next once I have this PO?
Well, what's next is we go into AR, and there's an easy way, once this is created, you can then just highlight and create a deposit automatically when the check comes in.
Okay. So let's take a look at that.
All right. Just one other note here. I'll go ahead and save that. There wouldn't be any general ledger impact here. Okay, it's just a simple document request sent into the customer saying, okay, send me $210 in this case for postage.
Okay.
Okay, so next we go into receivables. Okay, and you'll notice that this button here is new. This is the postage button in the inquiry screen. And basically it's going to track and keep track of all of the postage items, postage transactions.
Okay.
Okay, you'll see here on the first tab, these are my postage deposit requests. You'll see one here that hasn't been met yet. So when the check for this 210 does come in, you'll see that you can automatically create a deposit just by highlighting the transaction, create deposit. It's going to fill out the receipt for you automatically.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Okay, so I'll do that. I've got this highlighted, create deposit, and you'll notice that it fills in the customer, the amount, marks it as a postage deposit, and so forth. All you really need to do here is select the payment method and check number. Okay?
Okay. So I don't need to put any line items in or
Nope.
no other information.
Nope.
Great.
Okay. And then you would save it. And it's going to warn you that there's an unallocated amount because you're not applying this to an invoice.
Right.
So all you do is just acknowledge here with a yes. Okay? All right. Now, once it's saved, it's just like any other AR transaction. It's going to save into a batch. Okay, so you'd want to then close out of here, go into the batch entry, and then you can post it just as a normal AR batch. Okay, so I'll close. Okay, and you may have a few of those to do together. So if you have 6 postage checks, they would all be listed, and then you can just create the deposits and then like go into batches and then just go post them.
So as I create these receipts, they'll all go into the same batch, and
Yeah,
I can just post
just,
it from
yep,
there?
just like other AR transactions will, yep.
Okay,
Okay, so here's our receipt batch. You can run the audit report just like you normally would, and then you would post it. Okay. And once that happens, I can then go to my postage deposit receipt. And notice I've got a status here of open, history, and all. So I've got one deposit received here that's still open. When we want to go to the post office now and write the check,
right,
we can take this and do a cash out.
okay,
And what that's going to do is create a debit journal attached to that receipt as a way to write it off.
I see,
Okay.
okay. So let's take a look at that. So say I'm ready to pay the post office, what do I do next?
Okay. So we can highlight the receipt as we have here and do a cash out. All right, and it creates a debit journal. Okay. Notice there's a checkbox here that marks this as a postage cash out transaction. And actually, I'll sidestep for a second here. When you mark these transactions as postage too, one of the other things is in the general ledger, you can keep these transactions from updating accounts receivable
Okay,
and update a postage control account. Okay, so this checkbox is important because it won't be increasing AR, it's going to be increasing a postage control. We're going to make sure that the aging reports keep these transactions off
okay,
the AR reports as well. So,
great.
okay. All right, so really there's nothing to do here. Everything's filled out for you. The receipt's filled out for you. You can just save it. And again, it's an AR transaction just like anything else, so you would close. It's saving into a batch. So here's our debit journal. You can run the audit report, click post. Okay. And then the final step, if you're actually processing with a check, what you can do is click on, find your debit journal here, which is actually in the cash out postage payment. Okay, here's our $210 check. And you can then actually quickly record the AP payment here if you wanted to.
Okay,
You could do it either in AP. We've added the button here to make it a little bit
Make it
simpler too.
centralized,
If
yeah.
you want to keep it all right here.
okay,
So you can do an AP quick payment, whether it's by check, electronic, if you're just going to send it electronically, however
okay,
means. Okay.
great.
Okay. And then the last piece I just want to mention too is, and of course with this you would just fill in your post office. Okay, it has the amount because you keyed it off the individual transaction. Payment method might be check. Okay, again, there's nothing to allocate to. Okay. Last step though is in AR we've added a report called Postage Activity, and you can run it for a date range. And this is just a little report, looking to show you that by customer, how much postage was billed, how much has been received to this point based on that, request and so forth. A little bit of a running balance.
Okay, great.
Okay?
So then the next step would just be to send the check out in AP?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep,
and you're
exactly.
done.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, that's wonderful. That's
Okay.
great.
Good.
Thank
Okay. Thank you. Well, this was another episode of EPMS Tech Talk. I'm Chris Costa.
And I'm Joanne LaFlamme.
Please look forward to more to come.